Senator van Turnhout, 5 minutes, Senator.
Thank you very much. And I start with a declaration of interest. I'm Chair of Early Childhood Ireland, but it's a governance role. Minister, you're very, very welcome to the House, and you're very welcome on this issue, because I want to applaud you for the work that you're doing by setting up the interdepartmental group on future investment in childcare. It is hugely encouraging to see you, as Minister for Children and Youth Affairs, taking ownership and leadership in the area, because certainly I was surprised recently when I saw a map of the state involvement in the department and agencies that Mr Thomas Walsh of NUIM did, of all the agencies in state. It is a huge list, and I do wonder about resources and costs purely from the state side, that also has to be re-examined and looked at to ensure that we're streamlining it. But I think, for me, it's a real exemplar of the role of the Department of Children and Youth Affairs, and as your role of Minister for Children and Youth Affairs, is to coordinate and bring people together and really do fulfil the missions of the strategy of the government in better outcomes, brighter futures. And I think this, for me, is an exemplar, and I want to applaud you for doing that, and I really hope it will produce that template, as you said, that will give us all an agreed map that we can say this is where we need to go. And obviously there are going to be difficult choices that will have to be made, but at least we can at last agree what needs to happen. Parallel to this, Minister, as you would be aware, the Joint Committee on Health and Children are having hearings on this issue. Deputy Sandra McClelland is our rapporteur, and under the chairmanship of, or excellent chairmanship of Jerry Buttimer, we've started hearings, and last week we had Early Childhood Ireland, Start Strong, NWCI and the Children's Rights Alliance in to sort of set the scene and the frame for the issue, and we've had really good debate already on the issue. And I want to first start on the issue, Minister, on special needs and additional needs, because in fact this was an issue that came up at the hearings last week, and I was asking the fact that the primary schools, Department of Education and Skills, provides more than 6,500 special needs assistants in primary schools, and yet we have zero, other than some local resources allocated to children in early years education. And we know, and I know rightly, that the focus is very often on the child with the needs, but we all know, and it came out at the hearings last week, the importance for all of the children in the setting of inclusion and mainstreaming cannot be estimated too much. So we really do need to be cognizant of that. What came out of that, Minister, was the need that perhaps special needs assistant model isn't the model. So I hope you're looking at other models. It was about how they could access resources to support children so that they really were included in those settings. So not necessarily to have this shadow around with the child, but that the classroom, or not classroom, but the preschool setting was adequately resourced to include and mainstream the child. And I'd advise you to look at some of the answers we got back from the organisations at that hearing. Minister, also what came out very strongly from each of the organisations that presented was the importance of the first year of the child's life, and that we have to do everything we can to ensure that that first year is at home. And that came out from all of the organisations. So it's something that I'd ask you to bring into your consideration, and perhaps over time, and that's what we're trying to be ambitious, to look at how we map out to ensure that we will have maternity and paternity leave. And the model in Sweden is that either parent must take 3 months of that leave, and then it's up to them to equate how it's done. And I think we need to look more inventively at this. Minister, I strongly would urge you to ensure that any money that is allowed goes into investment and not into cash transfers. I think we don't have to look too far back in history. We saw the early childcare supplement that was there. It was withdrawn by Minister Brian Lenihan when he was Minister for Finance, and we started the first preschool year, the first free preschool year, at the start of the recession. Now, I am hugely surprised, Minister, to see in Fianna Fáil plans that they've gone back to saying let's go on tax credits, because for me it's about investment, and I would really urge you to re-look at it, because I have read your plan. You're looking at tax credits.
No, we're going for second year.
You're going for 3 points in it. You've the
1 minute remaining.
First year tax credits and the second year. You want it all. So, Minister, I would certainly urge you in the plans that come out that we look at the investment, and that we really encourage that we invest in whether it's the first year, the second year, or additional years. Minister, another concern I have is the development of the sector, because who is working to identify the needs for the children and their families, for the capital investment that is needed. The Department of Education and Skills has a very clear process, but I don't see this process in the sector. I would think that it's a role for the childcare committees, perhaps that they could be feeding up nationally. We're seeing unplanned expansion, oversupply in some areas, not enough supply in others. Pobal estimates that there's 31,500 vacant spaces currently in the country. We need to be looking to ensure that we're linking into county councils about planning permissions. Where does capital investment go? These are all areas that I think need to be looked at. Minister, you know yourself, you're very good that you met with individuals at the Early Childhood Ireland conference about the issues, about being laid off for 14 weeks in the year. What other profession would we allow this to happen to, that we'd lay them off? I think it's a gender-specific issue for me. I do feel this. When you hear that somebody actually will earn more cleaning or being working in the chipper than they will in educating our young children in Ireland. If we see, Minister, also that the displacement the need for increased investment, you've talked about workforce development, we need to reward and encourage and incentivise people to have the qualifications. And there are people with those qualifications, and I know you're convinced, Minister, we have to do more. We do need to ensure that there's more access to struggling working parents to the community schemes. And, Minister, we do need to ensure, as you said, the supports and additional needs for children so that we can meet their needs. And rather than waiting, all too often I'm hearing, Minister, that the assessment will come for the child in the months leading up to them starting primary school, because it's seen as, oh, that's a need for primary school. We really need to be ensuring that if a child has a need, that we're assessing them earlier. Minister, some of the outlier or periphery issues for me is the issue of obviously childminders being very unregulated, the issue of after school. We're beginning to see that being developed. I really think it needs a regulation and guidance if we want to be consistent. And the issue of au pairs, Minister, because we're seeing an increase again. It's an issue I'm working on to try and look at what we can do in the area. Obviously, Minister, as you can guess, I can say so much more on this issue, but I do wish you every success, and I encourage everyone to get involved in the work that you're doing in the group. I look forward to seeing the plan that you're going to come out with. We will have difficult decisions, but I say huge, well done for doing this. This is real leadership, and for me, this is exactly what was needed for a long, long time in this sector. So I look forward to seeing what comes out. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator van Turnhout.